Thanks for that. So it is my great pleasure to introduce my friend Chris Ronzio, who is the founder and CEO of Trainual. If you haven't already bumped into Trainual along the way, I don't know where you've been. They are really making waves in the EOS and operating systems communities by helping us tackle one of the biggest challenges we all face, which is process. I've just been delighted to get to know Chris and his team over the past year and see the great work that they're doing. So today, Chris is going to share with us tips on how you can plan your accountability chart for what your next hire is, build a great onboarding experience, and delegate effectively. So that's a lot to unpack in just 15-ish minutes, Chris, but if anybody can do it, I know that you can. I'm going to turn the screen share over to you and the microphone over to you. Welcome. We're so glad to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Jennifer. Awesome to be here. Great to see all of you in the Zoom group here. I love that I can see your faces. So feel free to turn on your mics and say anything if you've got a question, if you want to interrupt me. But I'm going to go pretty fast because we've only got 15 minutes. So let's get started. Like Jennifer mentioned, my name's Chris Ronzio. If you haven't heard of me, founder and CEO of Trainual. I've got a podcast, Organized Chaos, and I wrote a book called The Business Playbook. A little bit about the company: 2-time Inc. 5,000, 3-time Inc. Best Workplaces, which I'm really proud of. 5 stars on Glassdoor. So it's really all about people. We have just over 100 people at our office in Arizona, where our headquarters is, customers in every country in the world, an investment from one of the sharks. And on the personal side, I do crazy things like a Antarctica marathon. I'm a huge basketball fan with the Phoenix Suns. So if any NBA lovers out there, give me a shout out. And I've been married with my wife for 20 years, and we have 2 lovely little kids. So that is me. But let's get on to what is more relevant for all of you. So first of all, what I am all about and what my book is all about, if you've ever seen me speak, is these 4 things. It's like all of the knowledge that we have in our businesses can be packaged into these 4 different areas. You've got your profile, which is what market are you in? What customer do you serve? What are your products and services? What's your history, your story, your culture, your values? That's the profile of your business. You've got your people, which is who's who in the business, who does what, your roles and responsibilities, your org charts. You've got your policies, which are your rules, and you've got your processes, which are your how-tos. So all of the different information in your business can fit into these buckets. My personal mission is helping people capture all of that and describe how their business works. So I'm not going to talk about all of that today, but when I put these words up here on the slide, you all have all of these things today in your business. You have a company history. You have bios of who's who. You have the responsibilities of who does what. The hard thing is capturing them, getting them someplace that we can train our people and we can all get aligned and agreed upon that this is how our business works. So I'm going to give you a shortcut here. If you want to just scan the code on the screen, we put together a few hundred of these things, and it's not gated with emails. It's not password protected. This is a straight PDF that you can download, because I think for an integrator, for anyone with an operational mindset, you want a list of stuff to do. You want a list of options. And if you can see these hundreds of things that you could maybe fix about your business, you'll be able to circle your 10 or 12 or 15 and turn that into some rocks in the next couple of quarters. So this is a great resource to get started. Be sure to take a picture of that, and we'll send that out after the fact. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple things today. First, we're going to talk about responsibilities, because I think mapping out your responsibilities is crucial. Then we'll talk about delegation and planning new roles. And finally, we'll wrap up with the orientation, the perfect orientation to get someone into your business. And we're going to do all of that in like the next 10 minutes. So let's get started. All right, gathering responsibilities. This is something I did for years and years and years. Really simple spreadsheet where I kept all of my responsibilities in the business. And then every 90 days, I'd sit down with my assistant or my chief of staff, and we would highlight the responsibilities that needed to come off my plate, the things that I alone couldn't do in the business that someone else could do if I empowered them to do it. And so we would highlight these things every 90 days. Throughout the quarter, we would mark done on the ones that have been transferred to somebody else's plate. And it is an incredible exercise. And so I'm going to walk you through how to develop this list for you, but also for your team, more importantly. So I want you all to come up with your own responsibility matrix, as I call it. And the way that you'll do that first is just thinking through the time-based chunks of time in your business. So what are the things that you do every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year? If we had more time, we'd do a workshop on this, and all of you would be able to come up with a ton of things based on just that time prompt. Because every day you check your email, or you deposit checks, or you turn on the lights in the office, or you have a stand-up with your team. Every week you might have a L10 meeting, you might process payroll, you might do, there's repeatable tasks that are time-based in the business. So that's the first bucket. The next thing to brainstorm your responsibilities is go through your email, your sent email. So I don't know if you're like me, but you all probably get a ton of emails. Your sent email is the sweet spot. That is the gold mine for all of the things you actually engage with, the things you sent that you initiated, the things you replied to, the things you forwarded to other people that maybe you're still a bottleneck for. So inside every one of those emails, think of it like an envelope with a responsibility inside, something that requires your attention. So go through your last few weeks of sent email. Then look at your calendar. So similarly, your calendar shows what meetings you participated in, which vendors you had calls with, the ones you do with your team, all of your calls and responsibilities, pull those off your calendar. And last, other applications, task apps, to-do apps, project management apps, point of sale systems if you're in retail, all the places where you do work, you can find lists of completed tasks. So this 4-bullet list right here of how to surface responsibilities for you or for anyone on your team is a super valuable exercise that you can do in just a couple minutes. And by the end of this exercise, I promise you would have dozens and dozens of responsibilities. All right, so then the takeaway, bring this back to all of your people and either take 10 minutes at a team meeting or assign it as a 24-hour task for the next day and say, I want all of you to brainstorm your current active responsibilities in the business. By the end of that, you'd have this massive table of contents, this huge stack, hundreds, maybe thousands of responsibilities. Why am I starting with this? Well, I firmly believe that responsibilities come before process documentation. Who does what comes before how. If you don't know who does what in your business and have a real clear lens on who does what, you can't describe how. You can't determine what's important to document or what's next to delegate. And so we all need that huge list of responsibilities. And this is something that a lot of people, frankly, just don't do. So start with the responsibilities. All right, next thing I'll mention really briefly here. You all know the delegate and elevate kind of tool. I'll show you my little version of it. There's the things you dislike that you don't like doing in the business. Some of those you're good at and some of them you're not. For me, in my first company, it was a video production company. I disliked and was terrible at accounting. Easy outsource. But I disliked and was really good at video editing. That made it hard to hand off to someone else because I had a way that I wanted it done. I had a quality standard. Even though I didn't love doing it, it was hard to train someone else to do it. So I had to put a lot of work into that, but I got it off my plate. Then on the other side, you've got the things that you like doing. Some of those are a great use of your time. Some of them are a bad use of your time. So I loved going to events where we would film and sell videos, but it was a bad use of my time. Anyone could be there. And I loved creating partnerships because that's a great use of uniquely my time. And so that's where I ended up spending all my time when I grew and sold my first business, was partnerships, big deals. That's what I love doing. And so think about, for you, of all of those responsibilities, where is the place that you should be spending all of your time? All right, let's move into delegation. So now that you're thinking about the things you want to get off your plate, how do you plan that next role in the business? Well, our point of view at Trainual is that all of the knowledge in your business falls into these different groups. There's roles in your business, there's teams, there's departments, there's locations, and there's maybe other squads and ways that you group together knowledge. And for each of those, you should identify what are the responsibilities that go to this thing in my business, that go to this group, that go to this team. And so the lesson or the tool here that you can all use is what I call this delegation planner. So really simple tool. You can make it in a spreadsheet, and every column should either be a person if you've got a smaller business, or a role if you've got a slightly larger business. And you combine all of those responsibilities you brainstormed and make a list for each person or each role side by side by side. And then as you're looking at this role, if you're looking at this column view, there's 3 things to evaluate for each column. So first, the number of responsibilities. Is one person in your org overwhelmed because there's too much breadth? There's too many things that they have to manage. That is a huge point of failure for our companies because one person has all the knowledge stuck in their head. So look for someone with too many responsibilities, even if they're small. Next, look for someone that has too big a percentage of their responsibilities. And so as you compare one role or one person to maybe the 3 or 4 others on their team, is one person carrying all the weight? Well, if it's anything like my experience, that person could be burnt out and could be upset and eventually want to leave the company. And so we want to make sure we're not overburdening our people and that they're not carrying too much of that weight. So you may need to redistribute. And then the last thing is the weight of responsibility. So each one of these things has a certain bandwidth requirement. Is this a 1 hour a week thing? Is this an 8 hour a week thing? And you can go through your spreadsheet, through your list to figure out, is one person doing the job of 2 or 3 people? Are they burning the midnight oil? Are they going to burn out? That's when you know you need to shift things around. So our businesses are like cells dividing. You know, what starts off as one person maybe in marketing can turn into 4 people, can turn into 12 people. And as that happens, you're constantly playing this game of shifting responsibilities. And I believe this is at the epicenter of process documentation and training. You need to know who does what before you document how. Make sense? All right, the last piece that we'll touch on here with the couple minutes that we have left is what I call the perfect orientation. And so Trainual, when I started it, it was half training, half manual. It was the documentation, the knowledge, and then it's the experience of teaching that knowledge. So here's how you can build an awesome orientation process, a great experience for your new people when they come into the business. I call it the 7 S's. So first, every new person that we hire gets a survey. S number 1 is survey. We ask them to fill out a bio about themselves that we can circulate to the whole company to let them know who's coming. We ask for their preferences, like their favorite sports teams, their favorite drinks, their favorite snacks. We ask for their t-shirt size, any other information we need for them so that when they get there on the first day, we can reward them. We can surprise them with their favorite drink. We can have their t-shirt size set up. We can have circulated their bio and everyone can say hello to them. So survey someone before they start. Next, hit them with tons of swag. I can't overstate this, and I don't sell swag, but if you're not giving hundreds of dollars swag to a person, they miss marketing opportunity. When people start at your business, they want to market for you. They want to tell their friends where they work. They want to wear the t-shirt. They want to wear the hat. Hit them with swag. Make sure it's good stuff. Next is schedule. I mentioned early on, I did a marathon in Antarctica. I do a bunch of these crazy trips. There is always an itinerary. There's always a schedule. So every new person that starts at your business should have a schedule of what they're doing hour by hour, day by day for at least their first week or 2 weeks. Have a schedule. It makes them very comfortable. Last 4 things here. In terms of schedule, we start everybody on a Tuesday. So skip Monday. Monday is always fire day. We're putting out fires, starting the week. Our L10 meetings, start everyone new on a Tuesday so they get your full attention. Pick out some select intros, give them a buddy for their orientation, that they can build a relationship with, have them meet their team, their manager, anyone else they'll work with. Slip in some fun. We always do a fun online game, virtual game thing, an in-person happy hour so people get to know each other across teams. And then finally, some self-study time. This is blocks of time on the calendar where there is nothing for them to do except get comfortable and get caught up. Because if you've ever traveled city to city like me, you know sometimes you just need to collapse. And that's how our new hires feel when they go meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. They just want to lay down on the bed. So make sure that there's some time for them to do that. If you want our training, you can scan that. Again, another barcode here. We've got a public share link, nothing to sign up for, and you can go through how we train our new hires. And with that, I hope we can keep in touch. So I put all my social links there. I try to stay on time here, Jennifer, but yeah, I'd love to hear from any of you on the social media. I spend most of my time on Instagram and LinkedIn.
Chris, that was awesome. I took more notes from your short, powerful presentation than I usually ever take in these meetings. And I think it's so timely because most of us are in planning season for next year, and we are thinking about the cell division and the responsibility divisions and what's the future of our accountability chart and what goes where and how do we fund those responsibilities. And and how are we investing in culture? So all of this is so incredibly relevant. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the EOS conference for sure, if not sooner. So
Yes, we'll be there. And if
awesome.
any of you are ever in Arizona, give me a shout. I'd love to tour our headquarters for you.
Sounds
right.
great. Thank you,
Take care.
Chris. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Meanwhile, we're getting ready to go in.